I'll just introduce myself quickly. I'm Rachel Knutton, and I own a marketing agency here in the area called Alluvia Studio. And we are specialized in medtech marketing. We have 18 employees here locally. People have typically never heard of us because we don't do usually local business. But one of my goals is to build talent in this area. And my clients are from all over the world, but it's really important to be hired locally. A lot of agencies will hire people from other places and have remote teams. It's important for me to build the community here. And one of my goals is to interact with Tennessee Tech. So thank you for having me, because this does fulfill one of those goals.
Also the 4 of my students you hired.
Yes, I have hired 4 of her students. Truly, my presentation kind of sucks. So, but I think it's fine, because I mean, if we get it going, that'd be great. But if not, I'm going to tell you about why I'm qualified to tell you about this. So we help companies pitch their businesses for millions of dollars. We participate 3 times in a year in a event called LSI, and they're 9-minute pitches, much like what you guys are doing, specifically for medtech. And people are usually looking for checks ranging from $750,000 to $20 million, and they get 9 minutes to do it. So we work with a lot of companies doing that. One of the biggest, I think, issues that we face is we have a lot of information to tell. Like, you have a lot in your story that you need to share. You've spent hours, presumably, nights, weekends, lots of Red Bulls, coming up with your concept, and you're so excited to share it, and it's like, how do you condense it down to something that's palatable? I know you guys have all been through the value proposition workshop, right? So we actually tell people to start there. What?
Business model canvas is what we
call it. Business model, but it's from the value proposition strategizer book. So I'm a big fan of that, knowing who your customer is, what their pains, their gains, how you're gonna address those, and how you're gonna bring that model to market. So I think you've got the really good foundation there. You also did a branding workshop, correct?
We did marketing.
Marketing, okay. Marketing. So you've been through a branding workshop and learned some things there. What I want to talk about is, what are the things that we see in pitches that really make or break, and then I can talk to you about some of the presentation essentials as well. The number one thing is your pitch isn't about your presentation. Your presentation is the backdrop. So see me, I'm talking right now, I don't have my presentation, but I'm still prepared to talk about it. So really what people are usually there to invest in is you. There's a saying in our industry, which is they're investing in the jockey, not the horse. And so they also want to believe that your idea, you have the capability to carry it through and see it through. So just because you have a great idea, how do you appeal to customers? How do you talk about it with potential customers? And then how do you run the business? So when you're pitching, you've got a great idea, but also be sure and make sure they know that they can be confident in you in making it a reality, and that funding is going to go to good use, and it's going to come out with something. I know that there's been a lot of successful projects that have come out of this. I used Miscellaneous Men. If you guys are familiar with one of those winners from a few years ago, they were really successful. So number one is making sure that you're confident in you. The second thing, think of your pitch in sentences. You have 7 minutes.
Yes.
You've recommended between 8 and 12 slides, I want to say, for your pitch. So I don't want you to think about any of your data. I don't want you to think about your pictures. I want you to get a pen and paper or your phone or whatever and write down the 8 to 12 sentences that are going to answer each one of the questions that are in your pitch template. Your headline should never be the opportunity. It should never be the problem. It should never be the solution. It should be 20,000 people in the Cookeville area suffer from not having handyman projects completed, and we're going to solve it. Whatever your project is. It should speak in sentences. So you're gonna start there first with an outline. You guys taking notes? No? No? So think in headlines, really. I just went through a training where you're supposed to pick up a pencil. You have like 6 pencils, you can use tenor case, and each time you only get 1 sentence. Get those 10 sentences really, really, really short, and then build the story around that. So that's the number 1 for your presentations.
I think you're just gonna have to email it to me.
Okay.
Cannot get this to work at all. No, I think I just ruined it all.
Connect with your AV coordinator before the meeting and plenty of time to make sure your presentation works.
This happens every week. Literally.
That's terrible. I feel like you're gonna get up and running as soon as I send it.
Probably. Now let's switch to just doing this instead of. Oh, no, don't go around trouble.
Okay, so think in terms of your outline first, and then your data. How many of you have like engineering solutions or very technical? I think you mentioned big computers and data and things like that. Was that one of you that, when you first came in, you were mentioning like your engineering,
Yeah,
computer science? So the other thing is, don't assume your audience knows any of your jargon. So be able to explain it to your grandmother, unless she's an engineer, your 4th grade cousin. Be able to explain it in really simple terms. They'll have the confidence that you have the technology to support your value proposition, but make sure you can communicate it really clearly. People who are listening to pitches are listening to, how many will present?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. Could be 10 or 30.
Probably somewhere around 12 to 15.
12 to 15, okay. Their eyes are gonna be glazing over. So if you're number 15 on the list, you need to make sure you're still capturing their attention, and the way to do that is through story. Have you guys learned about pitching as a story yet? A little bit? A little bit? So when you think about your problem and the problem you're solving, have you thought about the emotional impact that that's gonna have on your customer? What does that give them? Is that freeing them up? Is that saving them time? Is it giving them peace of mind? Is it saving a system a lot of money? Does it make them look good? In our business, it's always about the patients. It's always about better outcomes. But to get someone to adopt your technology, sometimes it's the guy that wants to be out in front using the technology that you're gonna get to adopt it the fastest. And because he wants to be above his peers or above her peers. So kind of understanding like what's the motivation. Perhaps in your marketing class you learn about your customer persona. Do you guys feel like you have your personas identified pretty clearly? Pretty good? Okay, good. So think about it from their perspective when you're presenting. It's about you because you're the jockey, but it's really about that problem you're solving from the customer perspective. Did you get it?
Did you say?
No, because I was talking. Are they gonna have to send their presentations ahead of time?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, do as I say, not not as I do here. I have two.
Okay.
We'll send you this one first. Still on your system.
Oh, because you're.
Oh, it's okay. It still thinks I'm on your system. Is there wireless? Let's try this one more time.
I don't have any password information for it.
I don't understand. It's not even letting me attach it to the email. Guys, I apologize.
Is it, it's PowerPoint? Can we try something on link? Like a OneDrive link, maybe that'll work?
Did you get it yet? Oh, that sounds
There it
good.
is.
Can I send you two?
Yes.
Can you guys give me like a read right now on how confident you feel about presentation development in general? Like, I feel awesome, I feel okay, don't love it. Awesome, okay.
You can feel awesome about something and not love it.
Well, this is,
Valid.
that's a good point. All right, let me just do this one. Alright, you can pull both of those for me.
Yes.
Okay, okay, cool, alright, and then that one's good.
I'm waiting for that one to
Okay.
actually come through.
So in terms of presentation software, can you guys tell me about what you're using? Let's just go around real quick.
So ours is a upgrade to adding basically a locking mechanism to ambulance narcotics boxes. Basically, they're currently unsupervised and unmonitored, so we're creating a full web service and locking system for those narcotics boxes.
Okay, cool.
Presentation software.
Yeah, I
Oh,
meant. He was so excited to pitch, he's like, let's go.
Or is anybody using something other than PowerPoint?
Yeah, is anybody using not PowerPoint?
Canva,
Canva, okay,
that's what I always use.
okay. So I'm team PowerPoint, only because we do so many corporate presentations and we get really detailed. So we deal with a lot of clinical data, we deal with a lot of charts and graphs to tell stories, and so Canva is a little like I say it's like working with mittens on, like it's good, but I can't get to the level of detail I want. And can they run Canva for all their presentations?
So everything that is sent to me will be going into PowerPoint, to
Okay,
have one
downloaded.
master, yes,
Downloaded.
so when you do your Canva, transfer it into PowerPoint and make sure it works.
Okay, and is anybody using any AI tools for PowerPoint for their presentation? Have you heard about any?
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's one built in.
There's one, oh, the Copilot or whatever, okay.
Are we
Okay.
allowed to use that?
AI,
Okay.
yes, I thought you were here.
I haven't
You
been
can
in
use
presentation.
AI as desired. You can't use it to like do your entire business plan, but if you use it for research, if you use it for like making graphics or something like that, just source it, cite it, sorry. If you're not sure how to do that, the CITL has information about that on their website, but I can also add that to the EagleWorks website if that'd be helpful. Actually, I'll just do that. Lena, please remind me, I'll forget.
Okay, I'm gonna just give you a quick like why on visualization, and as you're thinking about presentation, sorry we're jumping around a little bit here, but I'll get into the sneak part. So one of the things is a famous saying by a professor at Yale that said there's no such thing as information overload, there's only bad design. So you're gonna hear a lot of people really talk about TED Talks and using just big pictures and big stories, and I think that's great. However, you have a 7-minute pitch. So you also wanna probably be able to show your detail. So I mentioned thinking in headlines and then support it with your detail, and that's like the level of information that you wanna have in your presentation. What we do know is that in the last 10 years, attention spans for investor decks have gone down from about 4 minutes to about 2 minutes. And when your judges are paying attention, you have about 30 seconds to get their attention. So that's why starting pretty quickly off with like, I'm here to help prevent accidental, I'm gonna do your pitch break. I'm here to prevent accidental access to narcotics within cop cars, and which is a big problem. And we've got a great software solution, and I'm looking for funding to help us build out the coding. I'm making that up. So tell people right off the bat, like what you want, what you're gonna use the money for. Then let's say you had a story. Uncle Joe was arrested and he got access to the car and he had a bad event. Then you can tell a personal story that gets them involved. Or the reason I started this business is because I experienced X problem, and you get people emotionally involved. People always say start with the story, but I say start very early with the ask and then your story. You can do all of that in the first 30 to 60 seconds. So keep that tight. Then they're gonna know why am I listening to you and why do I care? Those are the two things. I want you to think about content visualization. Because you have such short attention spans, how you share your content visually can make a huge difference. People make a judgment about you in 50 milliseconds. And I am not a math major, but I'm pretty sure that's less than a second. So the way you look, the way you stand in front of your crowd, the way you represent your brand, people are already gonna make a bunch of decisions about you before you even start talking. And as soon as you start talking, it's time to make that. You guys, I walked in here, I wasn't prepared, we're futzing around with this, you guys were like, what does this girl even do? That's not a great impression, right? Like I should have had a better first impression for you guys. I should have done the things I did so you guys know she knows what she's talking about. Be prepared. Interest comes before understanding. So one thing we know is when we're giving a presentation, You can have all the technology in the world, your software, your solution, but if you haven't engaged people, then they're kind of tuning you out. So make sure that story, your visuals are drawing attention to your story and not distracting from it. So we have 3 things that we use in our toolkit when we design presentations that I think if you think about these, they'll really help how you present your information. So we have hierarchy, white space, and proximity. Anybody familiar with any of these concepts? Okay. So hierarchy is making sure that I know what to look at first. So I mentioned your headlines should stand without your slides. If all you gave were your headlines, that should be my takeaway. I can look at the slides for the additional detail. As you can see here, we've got a bunch of stuff. You don't know what to look at. You don't have time to read it. Your eyes don't have a guide. You're like, I don't know. You're not paying attention to me anymore. You're reading this slide. I don't want you to do that. So one thing is we use size, we use contrast, and we use spacing to accentuate your key messages. Now I know if you read nothing else, you need to focus on size, contrast, and spacing. You might think about how values act as your North Star and how to inspire your team. You should never have this much verbiage on a slide. I'm just trying to show you how to use your visual, your text, sizing, contrast, and spacing to make your ideas pop. Hierarchy is the guide. White space. Who loves white space? Okay, here is the analogy. You go to Golden Corral and you load up your plate with all this delicious stuff and it's a hot mess, right? Food's probably real good, but it doesn't all go together. Where are you starting? It's not very attractive. You go to a nice restaurant, French restaurant, or an upscale restaurant. What's on the plate?
Not much.
Not much, right? Yeah, for like 3 times as much, right? But that's because they're letting the food have center stage. So when you're using your slides, resist the urge to fill every corner of the slide with information. Use hierarchy as your rule, your focal point, and support, and then let it breathe. A real good rule of thumb is like 1/3 of the space should be white space. Could be to the right, the left, between. Just think about 1/3 of it. What am I going to give up to get this point across? It also helps to use better line spacing and to use layout. So here's another example where things are kind of cramped. We don't have a lot of space, even here. So some of the things you're going to see in your programs, it's going to force sometimes spacing that's not visually attractive. It's not aesthetic. It looks okay, but when we give it a little bit of space and let it breathe, it looks professional. You want your presentation to look like it could go to market, like it could be branded and it could be commercialized tomorrow. So you want to make sure your presentation reflects that level of professionalism. Put the right wrapping on it. Same thing with layout. Here's an example where everything's kind of crammed in together. We give it a little bit of breathing room. You've kind of got instant elegance and sophistication that conveys to your solution. It conveys to how well you've thought it out. Most guys have ever heard of this concept about white space for design because it helps reduce error and prevent cognitive overload. Again, your judges are going to be in the room consuming 7 minutes of information one after another. So our brains look for the easy way out. So whoever presents their idea in the most simple way possible still needs to be complete. You still need your data. The judge is going to go like, this is easy. This is an easy solution. This is a quick win. So when you think about how you present it, make sure it's really clear. I say dumb it down. Even though your solution isn't done, when you dumb it down for your audience and back it with a few key pieces of data or proof points, that's all they need to know. Most people make decisions emotionally first and then look for the data to support the decision that they already wanted to make. So they're going to like you, they're going to like your idea, and they're going to look for all the details you have to support it. And then finally, proximity. This one's to me is a little bit complex to show you without getting into your actual presentations, but are you guys using like data, graphs, things like that to convey your pitches? So just make sure your stuff is grouped together, because our brains automatically connect ideas when they're close together. This is a really simplified explanation here, but so here we have a group of squares, we have a group of circles. We assume that these go together because of how they're grouped, not because the way they're shaped. So even when you mix up things together, when they're grouped, our brain automatically groups them together. So when you're working with charts, graphs, things like that, even if you need to have a lot of information on your presentation, use like visual boundaries even to let my mind go, okay, these ideas go, this is before, this is after, this is with, this is without, this is, I don't know, here's our data results, and here's what it could be, here's what it should be. You know, make sure you're explaining your graphs very simply, very easily. So proximity helps you with that. So those are, to me, like the 3 keys to actually putting together good slides. I'd like to just pause here and see if you have any questions about this. Okay.
One here.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You're right behind this computer, so I can't, okay.
Going back to when you were talking about asking before telling your story, what would be the ask in a pitch?
So for example, my name is Rachel Knutton, and I'm here to help students at Tech win their pitches and put their best foot forward. So I need $10,000 to better build my presentation. Now let me tell you. Okay, so now you know what I'm planning to do. It's simple. I haven't explained how I'm going to do it. I haven't explained the technology. I'm just like right off the front saying, I need your money, because if I don't get your money, I can't do X, Y, Z. They want to know what it's going to go toward. Yes?
So, like, as we have the time, like the time constraint, so is it good to use the sliding, like not that much, like if I don't use any kind of transition or something, just it will come with page by page, that's okay?
What do you mean?
Like animations and
Animation
presentation.
and transition, because it takes time.
So what we prefer to do is have things kind of auto animate. So you'll notice as I was bringing up slides, there was some animation that created interest, but I didn't click through. Only on a couple slides, like I clicked to make an action happen. So use it modestly. If you have a lot of information on a slide that you need to get across, and you want them to like focus on this, or if the build helps tell the story, like let's say you've got a line graph that's like this, okay? So in our industry, we deal with a lot of variability and a lot of things that, a lot of problems our clients are trying to solve is reducing variability in healthcare. So they might have data points that look like this, and then it kind of flattens out once you're using the product. That's a nice time to use the animation, because it's very attractive versus like a side-by-side graph of this versus this. If you can layer on top, that's compelling. You put like, oh, that kind of like, oh, that feels so much better now moment. So just use it judiciously in telling your story.
And I will say, you should practice enough that when you're doing your presentation, even if you're clicking through animations, you're still speaking. You're not waiting for it to come up. You should have your timing down, where if you say, healthcare is complex, and you're going to click for it to say telling your story should be simple, you're clicking as that's coming up and you're speaking. And that's one of the reasons to come to the pitch practices, is that will help you so much with getting your timing down. But also you'll get a lot of feedback from us on questions and things to think about, things to take out, things to leave in. So definitely come to those. But yes, you should have your timing down and practice.
Yeah.
I think that's slide like 11 in here. So some of the things I was kind of voicing over. So you see how when I first got started, I didn't have a presentation ready. It might have never worked. The email might not have worked. I still knew the key points that I wanted to share with you. However, isn't it nice for me to have the visual for you to connect with what I'm saying? So I told you think in headlines first. this helps give you a visual, and now when you think about thinking in headlines, you're looking at an outline. This is the outline we use when we do a normal pitch deck. We do is like 20 slides, but it's not for a Shark Tank kind of pitch. The Shark Tank kind of pitches are usually the same as yours, like 8 to 12 slides, where you're just hitting the high notes. I will tell you, if you have information that you can hit very quickly that's like, I checked this box, I think it's okay to have more slides. But you have to, like in our business, we have intellectual property. Well, no one wants to talk about the patents, and we have patent number, we have patent number, so-and-so and so-and-so, and we filed this patent, no one wants to hear that in the pitch. But if you're like, we've already filed 2 patents, boom, and then move on, I think you can have more slides. These are my parents, you guys.
Well, no.
I thought we were at 5:30, so that's my bad. So what we do, when we do our presentation outline, we use these, you have a template that EagleWorks is giving you, right? That's like, you've got your problem, you've got 2 slides on solution, you've got market size, some things like that in your template. That's what we do here. So we've got like your cover, your tagline, what's the opportunity. In our business, they like market data, because we're talking like millions of dollars, so they want to be like, how big is this market, how much could we make off of it? I think your pitch is a little bit different than that, because it's more of a prize situation.
It's part of it though. We do ask for revenue model, go-to-market, market size, and all of that. So
Okay, yeah.
that is-
So we cover all of that here in our business, you know, pipeline, what's next? I mean, how cool if you're like, well, this could not only work, I'm gonna use your example here for the narcotics box, but like, this could also work for home use, for keeping kids out of drug cabinets, and we think it could great in hospital. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up here, but, you know, showing people that, like, it's not just a one-stop shop, like, you have an idea with legs. I was just on a call with a young man, I can't remember which university he was from, and he had done an internship with Johnson & Johnson, I believe it was, and he had this grunt job as an intern, doing all of this hard work with claims and studies, and he and his friends got together and came up with an AI software that automates that process that we in our industry have done, and it takes like weeks and hours, and you can get it done like this. And so he's gonna take all, like, that idea, we're like, sign the check, what are you gonna do when you retire at age 23? So a lot of these ideas that come out of university, that come from you guys, are like real opportunities, right there. Or maybe it's a practice opportunity because you wanna be an entrepreneur later, but lights have legs, so the more you can show that you've at least thought about who would sell this, you know, how do we continue to grow revenue over time? You guys have all watched Shark Tank, presumably. I mean, it's the same thing, right? Okay, we talked about kicking off with a quick ask. So don't make people guess what you need. Just say what it is right up front. And you're raising $10,000 or $5,000, whatever the prize kitty is, to hire 2 more interns to help us build out our software. So it is. We talked about the emotional hook. So create an emotional hook with your problem statement, just a real story, something like what motivated you. Show your passion when you do it. Define your problem without jargon. So we mentioned, like, explain it to your grandma, explain it to your, it says 10th grader, they're pretty smart, I think they can figure it out. I'd say like 4th grader maybe, but don't use jargon. You will have an opportunity to, who has like something in a like complex, does anybody have anything like medical or engineers? Yeah, you do. So you're gonna eventually be talking to people who know the jargon, right? But it's important to be able to speak without the jargon, because you're gonna have other investors who just need to believe in the idea, and you can drop the jargon in like the detail pieces, you can show that in your details, but don't bore people with the details. Okay, I wanna talk about the jockey. The jockey, we talked about people invest in the jockey and the horse, but if you have, have you guys worked on like any branding at all for your products yet? Have you established any?
A logo.
A logo, okay. Brand personality, like I always said, who is your brand when you go to a party? You know, which one are you? You know, and it's okay. There's no right answer. We always think the person who's the extroverted person running around talking to everybody is like the winner at the party, but that's not necessarily so, because you can have a in-depth conversation with the quiet guy in the corner, and it's like really quality. Be your brand. Be authentic. Be professional, but express yourself. Don't try to copycat somebody else. Just do something that resonates with you. I think it's great to have a brand that's a little bit different. There's a guy at our conference. He has a ZZ. You guys know who ZZ Top is, or is that like ancient? Okay. ZZ Top beard, and he wears really colorful jackets. And in our business, people dress like this. I mean, these are crazy heels, right? Because they've got animal print. I'm in marketing. I want people to know I'm serious, but I'm a little fun. Like, that's my brand. He gets $1 million contracts, and he's created a brand on this crazy beard that he has. It's a little unusual for our industry, but I think there's a way to really bring yourself into it and not just pick something that's like everybody else. Like, don't be Apple. Don't be Tesla. Everybody wants to be Apple and Tesla because they're cool and they're slick, but you know, come up with something that's unique to you.
When I present at conferences, I have rhinestone stud sneakers, and I always wear them for my lucky shoes.
It's a reminder, right?
Yeah, like you're gonna remember the girl with the sparkly shoes, right?
There was a woman that she gave her presentation in orange pants, and she's like, just look for me in the bar, I'll have the orange pants on. And I was like, all right, that's a bold move, you know, but it makes it stand out. One of the clinicians for really high-tech catheter technology, it is really sophisticated. She has multiple degrees. She started her whole presentation off with the operation game. You know, the one where you take the tweezers and try not to buzz it? And she talked about playing that as a kid and how now she's a doctor, she's got all these degrees, and like she feels like sometimes when she's performing surgery, it lacks the accuracy of that. Like one wrong move and it's gonna be a bad outcome for the patient. So she tied together something like very personable with a very high technology, and made her story resonate. I think anytime you can come up with, I don't have this in my slide, but anytime you can come up with a good metaphor for your product that's known by consumers, that's very helpful, because you've got all this complexity. So we had someone with a stent, like that you place in the aorta, and it's got this special expanding kind of technology. Well, he had all these slides to explain it, and then someone was like, you know that toy that you pull out and it goes like this and like that? I don't think I've even played with that since I was a little kid, but there's like a toy that expands as you touch it, and I was like, oh, got it. Or if you're like, we're the Airbnb of XYZ, or it's like this. When you can put a good analogy that we all know, a household name, connect that with your idea, like you're attaching yourself to that success, you're attaching something that's familiar, and they're gonna remember your solution. Okay, we talked about standing out deliberately with rhinestone shoes or orange pants. Think about, you don't have to be playful. Like, you might be like, hey, I'm the straight-laced one. Like, that's fine. Be the buttoned-up guy. Like, you don't be someone else's crazy. Just be your own crazy. Or not crazy. Okay, you guys, I'm sorry. I'll be honest, I got back from California, and just like Sunday, my slide that says find your money slide is like the worst slide ever, so my bad. But in your entire presentation, find one slide that really grabs the attention. Spend your time on it. Share it with people. Often to me, it's like the explaining of the solution. If you really spend your time on that slide, everything else is like table stakes, right? Your market model, your market opportunity, your ideal customer, stuff like that. One slide in a 140 slide deck that I did for Edwards Life Sciences launched a multi-million-dollar business and commercialized it, because one executive was like, oh, right, like, oh, I get it. Yes, the 142 slides are really important to explain why it works and how we improve it and all of that good stuff, but being able to like connecting the dots as to what the problem is and the opportunity, the solution, and a money slide, people will have that visual, and it's really strong. So something just like this. I don't need a slide for this. Practice, practice, practice. Went to a pitch presentation, and in the at LSI, it's 9 minutes, 1 minute break, 9 minutes, 1 minute break, back to back to back. I moderate those sessions, so we'll have like 11 people in a row, and it's timed. It has to start. This woman's slides never pulled up. So like what happened today, which was really my bad, but it wasn't her fault. She delivered a 9-minute presentation, no slides. So be practiced with your timing, so that if you don't need this, if you don't have the slides, you still know exactly what you want to cover. I know someone who has grown up through the ranks of Intuitive Surgical. They're the company that has the Da Vinci robotic surgical system. Have you ever heard of that? He's the head of the global, like the whole global marketing branding organization. He has hundreds of people that report to him. I do his presentations, and I will see him out in the hall practicing his presentation. He has the authority and the right to get up and just say whatever he wants because of his position and how he's gotten there, but he's practiced, and it still matters how he pulls that off. Check your fonts. If you guys are using custom fonts, do they have a way to check their fonts before they send their presentation? Like, can they check their presentation after you get it?
Yeah, I'll run through everything I get. I will run through. So if something like looks really weird, I will let you know. If the font is different, I won't. The way to get around that is send me a PDF and the PowerPoint version. And if I have enough where people have issues between them, we'll just run off PowerPoint, or we'll run off PDF. That's not preferable because I know people like to use animations and things. But that's an option. So
Will you install fonts if they provide them? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. If the answer can be no, the answer can, like at LSI, the answer is no.
As long as it's a free font, yes.
Yeah. So like at LSI, this meeting I was just telling you about, like we went to the AV people. We're like, can we see what it looks like? We had embedded the fonts. It still wasn't on one system. It was working on another system. It wasn't working, and we're like, is it possible to, install the font? If they said no, we had a PDF version of it available. So have the backup available. I'm a huge fan of custom fonts, but they will do you dirty on PowerPoint if you're not presenting from your own. That's why I wanted to present from my computer. I want it to be like, happens to be working here. If you're using templates and AI, it probably doesn't matter as much for your pitch contest. If you're using templates, it's probably okay. If you're presenting in a larger forum, use those as a starting point, but then customize them. And then we always recommend having a live pitch version and a leave behind version. So your live pitch is like your nice summary, like your beautiful slides, and then if you have a version that has like more of the detail that you need to provide if you're not there to deliver it, we always have that for our clients. That may not work in your scenario, they just have the live pitch. But in other situations, after you win your $10,000 and you go on to get more investors, you want to do that. These are just some examples of big presentations that we do, big stage presentations. They really matter to people. These are all X's because we can't share any of this global information and this revenue information. You see we use animations. Usually it's just the one click as you're getting onto your slide, not wasting time. Find new ways to show data. So like here we were talking about the demographics for a certain clinical condition. So we made a woman's body, and so we matched some of the data to the the corresponding bars in a woman's body to tell that story. Try to, you know, build in, I know you guys have talked before about like icons and things like that. Icons should support your story, that should not be the big picture on the story. Here's some, these are like really, really complex, where we had a lot of data. Clients like, well, you have to share, like, these are all of our potential target markets. Okay, well then how can we still make the information very clean? Here, when we're talking about market sizes, how do we break it up? What are some different ways to visualize the data? This is where I'll give a shout out to Gamma, which is an AI presentation maker. Canva might do this too. I don't use Canva, but a lot of times you can put in your information and then it'll help you visualize, show you different ways to visualize that information. We happen to just do this on our own because we do this all the time, but it can be very helpful just to spur on like creative new approaches. Just don't sacrifice clarity for creativity. Make sure that you're doing it. Nothing you should be doing should be just for design's sake, but it should be to communicate. Use things that like color differentiation to pop out like certain aspects. Like here, I really want to highlight that USA is the world leader in maternal death rates, so I'll pop just that color. Everything else is the same. So don't use like multi-color charts where it's like every color in the rainbow and you're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Dumb it down for the viewer. Oh, can I pitch my internship?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to also tell you guys, we have, I think I mentioned our team. So we do all kinds of marketing. We don't just do presentations. But what I wanted to share with you, this is our team that's located in Rickman. We only have one person that's remote. He's in Charleston. And all of these are tech, current students, alumni, or former tech employee of the year, in her case. So we do really love and embrace students. We want to be part of the community. So if anybody is interested in internship opportunities or post-graduation opportunities, of course you guys are all going to be millionaires because of your entrepreneurial skills, but if you want to come learn really at a corporate level what we do, but in a small business environment that's really fun, we love to have interns on our team. So love to talk to you about that. I also have some cards that I'll put out for you, and some stickers, because that's fun. Anything I didn't cover that you'd like to make sure I covered?
I think that hit everything.
Okay. Key, like detailed questions, big questions.
How did you make a custom pie chart? Because it's basically a pie chart being made with quick one.
Oh, let's see. Okay, so we did a silhouette. We got the silhouette from Shutterstock, and we created the bar chart actually to the same size, and then we cut out. So like you can like cut it out from the bar chart behind.
It's an overlay on the bar chart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any other?
What would you recommend titling your slides? Because you said don't do like problem solution, but maybe something a little more creative.
Mm-hmm. So that's where your headline is. So it's okay to, like, we do an eyebrow text sometimes, like at the top it'll just say like probably one of these examples I had says the opportunity. No, those don't. But sometimes like, so see how these, we're saying like FHR monitoring has resulted in the overuse of C-sections with clinical consequences to mother and baby. It doesn't say like size of problem. It's, you can show them the size of the problem, tell them why it matters, tell them what it is. Again, if you didn't have any slides and you want them to know this, that's where your outline goes.
Okay.
I like sentences. My personal preference. A lot of people don't do that, but I think it's nice to have a sentence. That's why you start with that outline and make it 10 sentences, and that will help your story along. Other questions? And we also sometimes we'll use things that like just color variation, just to pop like a key. So like these are very heavy slides. These have a lot of information on them. Sometimes that's okay, right? As long as I'm pointing out, like, I just want you to pay attention, like, that's a big number, that's bad, this is bad, you know, as long as you're talking to, like, what you want the key takeaway to be, that works, and then I think, like, using color to just pop, like, a key part, if you've got a lot of text, is really helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Any other burning questions? Yes?
So did you use PowerPoint for your entire presentation, including like the moving animations?
Yeah. Yeah, you can do a lot with PowerPoint. There is a company, if you guys write this down, it's called Bright Slide. The company's, if you just Google Bright Slide, it comes up with the name of the company, I forget the name. Bright Slide is their product, it's free. It's a free add-in, and that you can put in your PowerPoint, you don't really need it, but they have tons of like educational modules on how to do animation, and they're all free. And so, I mean, even though we do presentations, they're huge, and like that's all they do. So we do presentations as part of what we do. Our team regularly watches those to level up their skills, particularly around animation. You could make it look like video. We do full videos sometimes in PowerPoint. We also use video editing software, but we've done them just using PowerPoint. Do you guys have access to like good stock art? Or like like icons and things like that?
Yeah, we have icons. A lot of it is like premium though.
Yeah.
So they do have some AI generated stuff.
Lucid's pretty good.
Which one?
Lucid,
Lucid, yeah.
the Lego people.
Yeah. We use Shutterstock, but we do so many things that we have like a license, that we use a lot. That's really helpful. We do a lot of customization of vectors too, like we do custom icons. I mean, that's probably not necessary for your pitch. Do you have good visual representations of your products or your services? Yeah. AI is probably helping with that a lot, I would think, right? Like maybe it's iffy, right? Any other questions? Yes.
So you were mentioning like obviously keep the jargon down for non-technical users, but if we have like charts like that displays like maybe a little bit more technical information, but during the actual pitch, like I just kind of skim over it, or I kind of essentially just make it a lot less technical when I explain it. Is that fine?
I think that's perfect. I think that's how you should do it, because the data, and if you have sources, one thing that really has a lot of value, at least in our world, is having sources for all of your information. So no one can read that, and of course the slide's usually bigger, but like just knowing that you have a source for your data gives it credibility. People are probably not gonna go look it up, but this is a big credibility signal that you've done your homework. And when you do your homework, it looks like you're gonna be more professional in carrying out the plans that you say you're gonna do. So you know how I was speaking here, I was like, this is a really big number. A lot of women in the US are dying during childbirth. We need to solve this problem. A lot of babies are dying during childbirth. Like, yeah, you can say that without needing to go into the actual details. What else? Has anyone sat through any of the pitches for EagleWorks before? Do they have videos?
We have some from a few years ago when we live streamed. I can put those up on the website, or
I'm not trying to
email them out.
I'm not trying to make work for you.
That's all work for me.
That's what I do. I study films. Like I go and study. Like one time I sat down, all the LSI presentations I go to, I would watch them and then I would write down at what time I got bored. Like, oh, you know, and that's where I came with my metric. I was like, they had a minute and a half, in fairness, before I really just tuned out or not, or kept me going. So, It's helpful to do that or watch, I mean, Shark Tank's good, it's a good example, right? They cover a lot of the stuff. They think about how they present. What else? You guys excited?
Yep.
Yeah. How does the average public get to hear about all these exciting ideas? Is the public open to? Oh,
Yeah.
the pitch contest is open. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You invite your parents?
Yeah, invite your friends, invite your parents. There is a crowd favorite award for $500. So after the end of the finals, and that can go to anyone, not just people in the finals, based on trade show. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, so trade show. Do you have a session on that?
maybe.
Maybe?
That will hopefully be next Wednesday, but the person I've asked to do it has not responded to me yet. So we may or may not have a session next Wednesday. I may just send you out some information that should be helpful.
I'll get my cards out for you, and if you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to, am I allowed to
Yeah, of course.
offer any advice? Okay, so I have a couple things for you.
Was last week recorded?
Yes, with the beginner chef.
Okay, I'm
Upload
gonna
it
give you a
this week.
sticker of our personal key
Okay.
behaviors in
Have I
Alluvia
given you
Studio.
access
Own
to
it,
the
Google
YouTube?
it, try harder, do better, be
Let me
cool.
do that.
It's just good life stuff there.
I'm gonna forget.
And then we have, when I go to meetings, just to make things interesting, I have different cards printed out with a compliment based on our conversation. I haven't really had many conversations with you guys, it's a little tough, but, you know, this one says, hello friend, we disrupted an industry today, merely planning to annihilate one, you know. So I'll give you some of these too. Our contact information is on the back, if you're interested in internships or want any feedback, I'm happy to give you that. Use your, did I give you a sticker? Sorry, no stickers. Use your resources. I don't know why.
I want a sticker.
Yes, yes. Usually I take time to figure these out. People get really antsy, like excited. They're like, ooh, which ones am I gonna pick out? But, you know.
Oh, I like that. That is also very neat. Sorry.
Better than a Chinese fortune cookie.
Much better. My last fortune cookie didn't even have a fortune in it.
Oh.
And I was like, well, that's on brand.
I like your engagement. A good engagement one here.
That's what EagleWorks is for. That's how you get your fortune.